Okay, so hi attendees, if anybody is there, make sure you can let us know you're here. I'd like to welcome you to our first Leadnow webinar of this series. Today, Todd is going to be talking to you about why I can't get stuff done. So Todd is going to be your presenter for this session, but you are going to be supported by myself and Ellen, who will be in the background. We'll be checking up on all your questions. If you've got any questions that are about technicalities of the webinar, so sound issues or career centre links, those sort of things, please get in touch and we'll answer those. But if you've got any questions for Todd, make sure it's clear that they're for Todd and we'll make sure all questions are answered. But I'll stop going on and I'll pass over to Todd to introduce the session and enjoy, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Chloe. Chloe, just while we're waiting for maybe some latecomers to arrive, do you want to say who you are, by the way? Just introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come back on, shall I?
Come back on camera, say hi.
Shall I come back on? Okay, so my name's Chloe and my role at the Career Centre is Widening Participation Employability Officer. So I get to organise these sort of activities and events for students to improve their employability skills, and we understand that employability goes a lot further than the standard skills, which is why we've got Todd in with us to look at confidence, resilience, those other sort of skills that can be really crucial to help you secure work and placement opportunities and succeed at university. You'll be hearing a lot from me in different sort of aspects of opportunities we have coming up over the year. We have different things coming up, always can be found on mycareer.leeds.ac.uk, how you register. So we'll talk more about that another time, but yeah, nice to introduce myself, and you'll be seeing lots of emails from me at some point, I'm sure. So keep an eye out for my name, and I'll get back in touch when I have more exciting things to share.
Great, thanks, Chloe.
Thank you.
And I can see you might not be able to see how many people are on the call, but I see there's more than 10 of you, which is really great. So thank you very much. I'd like to check who can hear us and if you can hear as well. So you might be able to find on your screen a hand icon. If you can find the hand icon and you can hear me now, then raise the hand. So Sarah, a couple of Sarahs, Sophia, Stefan, there's a lot of S's on the call today. Nicholas, Lucia, Geraint, Dimitri, thank you. I see your hands are raised. There's a few that aren't raised. Apologies if I get the pronunciation wrong. Junji, Shitkar and Owen. I'm hoping that you are able to hear. If at any time you've got problems hearing, drop a note in the chat box, and off camera our tech support Ellen will help you.
Okay, well I will say goodbye again for now, and I'll pop back up if we have any questions, but just let me know if we need anything.
Thank you. So hey guys, we're going to be recording this session so that some of your fellow students up at Leeds can watch this in the future. I have a question for you guys before I get started though, which is, the question is, what would you like to get out of this almost hour that we're going to spend together? So find your chat box and start to type in a response, and your response will be anonymous. But I'd like to know what it is that you'd like to get from today's session. Okay, so I see some responses coming in. Let's have a little look. What have we got here? So I'd like to know how to be more efficient while doing work and not getting distracted so easily. Excellent. How to stop procrastinating. I imagine some of you are going, yes, I would like that. Okay, what else do we have? Something from Dimitri, something from Nicholas, and another one here. To learn how to manage my time effectively, balancing my time with my extracurricular activities. Excellent, good. So you're here for the right reasons, and I've written the right webinar, which is fortunate. So, Chloe, could you progress on one slide, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Right, so first of all, the title of the webinar was why don't I get stuff done? And perhaps more accurately, it would say, why don't I get the most important stuff done? Because you probably do get some stuff done. So there's an assumption here that you join the webinar because you're currently not doing some things that you really should be doing. So most of you have found how to answer a question in the chat box. So write your answer now in the chat box, remembering that all your responses are anonymous. So what should you be doing that you currently are not doing? So have a look at what's happening at Leeds. It's not happening. Okay, dissertations, an essay due for tomorrow. So Lucia, great. University work. Okay. Essay writing, studying and reading. So a lot about studying actually. So most of it's about things you should be doing for university work. How about if you think beyond university work? So there are other things in life that are important that perhaps you should be doing. What might they be? So looking beyond your coursework, what other things should you be doing? Okay, right, so now we've got a broader range of things. We've got essay writing, a number of you will know this. So here we have replying to emails, making a CV, building my CV for a placement, applying for jobs, going to the gym, exercising and meditating, very good. So really good stuff here. So some of the stuff which is about the long term, not the immediate stuff, and something about kind of nourishing our energy. So looking after ourselves through exercising, eating well, perhaps doing some mindfulness or meditation. So great responses. So the first thing we want to do when we're thinking about time management is to check, do you really want to do it? So next slide, please, Chloe. When I framed the last question to you on the slide, it said, what should you be doing? Now the should is quite a judgmental word and quite often comes from the outside world. It could come from a mum or a dad, you know, you should be doing this, or it could come from an older brother or sister or a flatmate, you know, you really should be doing that essay. But should's the outside world telling you that you got your priorities wrong. So we want to check about these priorities and whether you do really want to do it. When I say you, that means you. Do you really want to do it? So click down one slide, please, Chloe. So take one of those shoulds, and let's do one of the shoulds that's not related to your coursework. So think of one of those shoulds that's perhaps come from the outside world. And in the chat window, think of if it's, for example, going to the gym. So I should go to the gym. So you're responding in the chat window now. The result of me going to the gym would be, and we get answers and responses in the chat box. So what do you have now? What is the result of this? Okay, so getting some good responses now. So I'm now seeing.
Todd, we're getting from, sorry, Todd, we're getting from our end, we've seen a huge link to mental health, which is a really interesting finding that some of these things that you would want to be doing are going to improve your mental health. So that's something we've, me and Ellen have found interesting from our end.
And that's, so you picked up a number of these comments being related to mental health.
Yeah.
I'm flicking through them now.
Yeah.
Great, yeah, so I now see what you're seeing, a real trend here around self-confidence, resilience, feeling of karma, and getting motivated. So yeah, not being late for things. Really good, thank you. Okay. All right, so the result of me doing this is, a number of you have responded to that. The next one then, please, Chloe. Here's the next slide. Yeah, so now take whatever you wrote down. It could have been not staying in bed for so long. You know, why is that important to me? So this question says, and that is important to me because. So we're looking for the next level of depth beneath it. So whatever you had in your mind, or whatever you wrote in the chat box, how would you now complete this next sentence?
Yeah, following on from somebody who had mentioned mental health, has then mentioned to live a fulfilling life and be happy, which is obviously a huge, important part of life.
Great, great. And when you read something like that, you might go from right at the start, you're saying, I should do this, and you might say, I should exercise. And that feels like a real head activity. And now when you're reading responses that say something like, I want to do that so I can live a fulfilling life and be happy, it suddenly starts to get way more motivating than I really should go out for a jog. So we can see now how we're building a level of motivation behind these things. Let's see if we get a little bit deeper. I'm not sure if we need it much deeper because, but let's just see one more time. I'm just reading some more of these responses, which become more outgoing, a sense of accomplishment, improve my relationship with other people. I'll be getting over my procrastination.
We've seen things around challenging themselves and pushing themselves out of their comfort zones and their boundaries.
Great. Let's do the third one, but I don't think we need to with this group, if I'm honest. But let's pull up the last question.
The last one, yeah.
Okay.
They're way ahead of you, Todd.
Yeah, they're way ahead of me. And so whatever you thought of or wrote down on the last thing. So this really matters to me personally, because what have you got for us now? Lovely. There's one I've just read there, Chloe and Ellen, that stopped me in my tracks, because it finishes by saying, I want to be ... proud of being me.
I know that is such an important sentiment that I think we should all consider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've seen a lot around goals and achievements, a lot of personal strength comments coming through.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go to the next slide then.
Next slide.
So the point here I'm trying to make is that sometimes other people put priorities in our head that aren't our priorities. There are a lot of you should be doing this, and to try and jump and react to all of those just causes a difficulty in prioritization. And you got to question, whose life are you leading if you're not selecting your own priorities? Reading through those ones, I'm noticing everyone's getting to a real deep sense of the reasons why this something is important to them. But if we went back to the first question and you ask yourself, I should be doing this, and to the first question that I asked, which is, and why is that important to you? If the answer is it really isn't, then it's okay to let it go and not beat yourself up about it, because the reality is it won't happen. If it's not important to you, it doesn't matter how important it is to somebody else, there'll be other stuff that gets in the way. So considering now what to be your priorities rather than those of the lecturer at the institution, a parent, a well-meaning housemate, when you're thinking about your top 3 priorities, let's say your should do priorities, what are they? So put your answers and responses into the chat window now.
Yeah. I think what we found interesting, Todd, is where there's no comments here around the grades that you achieve at university and the percentages. It's more about happiness and well-being and finding a career that you enjoy and you find interesting, not necessarily about one which meets a certain grade requirement and follows a set path. So that's nice to see, and that's good to know that where people's priorities are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Really great observation. And I'm seeing the same thing as well here. The responses, my top 3 priorities, self-care, family, be a good person, become happy. establish good sleeping patterns, eating well. And I love the one that says, well, here one that says kind of girlfriend, one that says family. There's one that simply says me, me, and me.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, really. Yeah. If you're not your own top priority, well, you're not going to be anyone else's. So you've got to look after yourself. So I respect the person that's put that down. It's a great answer. So you now know your top 3 priorities. Forget where we're going now. Okay, so you've written down your top 3 priorities, or you've got them in your mind, and I'm seeing some of them here. Let's go to a poll, if we can stick one up now. Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So a poll should appear on your window, and you can choose which poll is it.
Okay, it's the one that says, as a percentage of my waking hours, how much time do I spend on my top 3 priorities?
Yeah, absolutely. So a poll should have popped up. You can select your option. Just click on whichever one you find most resonates with you, and we'll go through the results in a second.
That's great. We've got more than half of the votes in.
We'll just wait for a couple more to come through.
Excellent. There we are. We're getting up to 80%. Amazing. Very good. Give it another 5 seconds if you're not voted yet, and then we'll publish the poll.
Last chance. Right, we'll close now at 80%. And we'll share the results. Yes, so there you can see, as a percentage of my waking hours, how much time do I spend on my top 3 priorities? Less than 50% is the majority answer there.
And quite a spread, actually.
Yeah, fairly even spread.
Yeah, and quite a spread. And more balanced than I'd imagine it would be here, Chloe, actually.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at the kinds of things that are written down in the chat box around kind of family and things like that, those are the things that often get squashed out by the other things that we imagine to be important. So very good. I'm wondering if we've got some responses in the chat box which were around degree, because a lot of these time now, if you're looking at more than 50% of your waking hours, most of that would be spent, I imagine, chasing a good degree. So thanks for that. The next poll, if you're now thinking about your top 3 priorities, can we go to the next poll, please, Chloe?
Next poll, yeah.
Which is the one about how many hours per week would you need to do more?
Have a look. Let's set that up. Bear with us one moment.
All right.
How many hours per week? Yep, we'll launch that now.
Thank you. So when you're thinking about your top 3 priorities, and these are that I should do more of, how many hours per week would you need to spend on these priorities to make a real difference? That's if you want to step it up. So we've got half voted so far. Give it another 10 seconds and we'll see what these poll results are.
Yep, nearly all there. Okay, 3/4 of you have answered.
Excellent.
The last one just got in there, so we'll close it now. Okay, so can we see the result?
Yeah.
How many hours per week would you need to spend on these priorities to make a real difference? Okay, so it's looking at 10 to 20 hours per week to be able to make a real difference.
Yeah, so significant.
Yeah, it's not a small amount of time.
It's not, is it? You know, so it's not something you can find down the back of a sofa. It's not some small change we're looking for here. So to make a real difference on these things you've been talking about around mental health, and I'm noting now some providing for children, we're looking for between 10 and 20 hours. Okay. So could you bring the PowerPoint screen back up again?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
No, let me just. It is just taking a bit of time from us.
It's all right.
There we are. We're back.
Okay, cool. And then flick on 2 slides because these are the poll slides. Okay, thank you. So welcome to a couple of people who have joined us a little later. It's fine, you can just join in wherever we're at. So where does time go? Some of you have maybe seen this grid before. I first saw it in Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you haven't read the book, it's in my top 10 recommends list. It's sometimes also called the Eisenhower Matrix. Now, I'm not quite sure why it's got called that, but you might see it called this. And this is thinking about time and how you use time and categorizing all the things that take time into 4 boxes. You've got a 2x2 grid where you've got things that are important or not important. That goes up the y-axis. And they're urgent or not urgent, and that goes along the x-axis. So top left on your screen, box number 1, those things that are both urgent and important. So earlier someone had an essay deadline tomorrow. That feels both urgent and important and is the number 1 priority. So those are things that are crises, meaningful deadlines, or emergencies. If you were to spend your entire life on box 1 activities, that's the question that we can put in the poll. Put in the chat box. If you were to spend your entire university life there and career in box 1, the things that are both urgent and important, how would you feel? Burnt out and stressed. There we are, exhausted. Exactly. So we don't want to spend our time there. So where we do want to spend our time is in box 2. So those are the important things that are not currently urgent. What happens if you don't do them? Well, the important stuff just becomes urgent. So you end up things migrating from box 2 to box 1, and it becomes stressful, and you do it when you're tired and under duress rather than when you're relaxed and calm. The kinds of things you guys have been putting about your priorities all fit in to box 2. They're important, but not necessarily urgent. So things like looking after your family, me time, exercising, looking after your diet, writing that CV, those things, there's no one else placing a demand on you right now with a deadline. So that's all box 2 stuff. So that's where we want to find some time. Bottom half of the grid, stuff that's urgent and not important, some interruptions, some emails, quite a lot of meetings, particularly when you're in corporate world, will be sitting in that box. You can spend a lot of time in meetings that you feel you have to turn up to, but don't get a lot of value out of. But I want to focus on box 4. So box 4 is the stuff that is not urgent and not important. It's the time wasting stuff. So in the chat box here, what stuff do you put? What stuff do you do that you could call a bit of time wasting? So what would be in your box 4? Answers in the chat box, please. What are you doing? Chloe, while we're waiting for some answers to come in on this one, what's your time waster? What do you do?
Well, I don't waste any time, Todd. Ellen's laughing at me as we speak. I tend to feel productive by over-organising things. So I will spend a lot of my day making lists of all the things I need to do and organising it into pretty lists in good notebooks, and I come away going, oh, I feel really organised, whereas in actual fact I've spent half an hour writing the things down that I could have just done in the first place. So that's my work related one. And probably at home, I'd do the same. I find it easy jobs to do to avoid having to clean the shower or do any of those things. I'll think I have to go to the shops instead, or I have to go and cook something.
Okay, so you'll find some small things to do that get in the way of doing the big things.
Yes, so they feel like a little win because you've done something and you feel like I can sit down now, I've done something productive, whereas actually all you've done is just make more work for yourself later on.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool, thank you. While you've been talking, I've been scrolling down. There's some real themes here. I mean, yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Disney, TV shows, social media, video games, playing games, YouTube, social media. I don't know what this one is here. Right, I'm not going to say that one out loud. Helping other people. Facebook, there we go. And someone's agreeing with you about making lists there as well. So we can all recognize that we are wasting some time, and that's where you want to go to find this extra time. Okay, so you've thought about how much time you're spending in box 4. You've thought about what do you do in box 4. Now I'd like you to think about how much time that consumes. So if you can go to the last poll, please, Chloe.
Yeah, we will launch that now. It should come up on your screens.
Okay, so we just talked about box 4. That's the stuff that you're time wasting. How many hours per week do you spend in box 4?
Okay, we'll just get, we're flying up today. We're a couple more seconds, see if anybody else wants to participate. 90% of people have voted. Okay, we'll close it now and share those results.
Oh.
I think we'd all like to say we're in the 0 to 5 hours category, but there's clearly some honest viewers with us here to say these answers, especially the more than 40 hours.
Wow, look at that. What would you have voted, Chloe?
I'd have probably voted 5 to 10, I think, including both work and home life sort of box 4 activities. Would have been 5 to 10.
Yeah, good. So
what about yourself? Where do you fit?
I'm super efficient.
Well, yes, I suppose you are.
Yeah. I was wondering about the title of the webinar. It said why I don't get stuff done. It's why anybody would turn into a webinar titled that the guy running the webinar has written that he doesn't get stuff done. No, I think I've got this nailed.
Good.
After many years of work. But thinking about when I'm looking at this now and correlating this back to the last poll we did that said how many hours do I need in order to focus on my priorities. Do you remember what that was? That was around 10 to 20 hours that people were looking for in order to do the things that are the most important things, like look after mental health, looking after myself, finding time for my kids. So what I'm looking at now is a greater waste of hours than we previously needed. Does that make sense? You might be nodding and I can't see you all. So
we could do a hands up if you wanted, Todd, to see if people are feeling they agree.
Yeah, good, okay. So
hands up down if you've got them down at the minute, and hands up if you do agree. I think most hands are up.
So most hands are up, which means that most people agree that they're wasting more time than they actually need to do all the stuff that's important. Right, this is straightforward then, huh? Let's go to the next slide. You can see where this is going. And the next one. Okay, so let's just schedule them in. The time is available. You know what's important. So just select one of your should do priorities. Which one is it? And then write in the chat box precisely when you'll do it. So if mine would have been, let's say meditation. So if mine is meditation, I would now put meditation 3 times per week at 7 a.m. That's what I'd now be writing in the chat box. Chloe, what would you write? What was one of your priorities that you would do, and when would you do it?
One of my box 4 priorities.
No, sorry, one of your priorities of the things you should be doing that you're not.
Things I should be doing that I'm not would definitely be exercising.
Okay.
And I do need to factor that into my time more. I think I probably know that Monday nights are always free for me, so I would factor in either an exercise class if that's available to me, or at least going for a run around my local area.
Okay, so you would now be writing in the box exercising Monday evenings.
Yeah.
Good, and we've got some here. We've got exercising 4 days a week. We've got going to the gym on Wednesdays and Saturdays, completing seminar readings, read a book tonight at 11. Great.
Todd, we've got an interesting question that we'd noticed earlier, but we disappeared from us at some point. And it was a question around, how do you stop yourself procrastinating then? How do you stop doing it and just make those changes?
So we've done two. We're going to come to that.
That's fine, absolutely. It's just a useful one for us all to know, I think, that one.
Yeah, good. Good. I'll do that before the end. We're building up to that point, really.
Good. Thank you.
It's almost the finale, so I won't do it now, if that's all right.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I'm just thinking. Okay. So yeah, when we go to the next slide, we're getting straight to the end anyway. So next slide, please. So the question is that it? To stop procrastination. So step 1, check your priorities. So are they my priorities or are they someone else's? If they're someone else's, let it go. If it's yours, then when you ask yourself those questions, what's the benefit? Why is it important to me? And does it, why does this matter? Then the answer gets deeper and deeper, and you start going, yes, I really want this. I need this. And then imagine the benefits of achieving it. That's all about using visualization techniques, which sounds grand, but it's just imagining what the benefit is. That's it. So step 1, are they your priorities? And imagine the benefits. Step 1. Step 2, how much time do I need to do it? And then plan it. So, okay, my priority is to exercise. The benefit is I'll live longer and feel healthy and bring more energy every day. When I'll do it is Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Right, and it'll take 1 hour. There we are. Step 2 done. Step 3 is acknowledge that I'm wasting time. So their time is available. So therefore, I'll just I'll go exercising instead of watching that stuff on YouTube. Fine. Step 4, live a wonderful life. Easy, right? I was thinking there must be more to it than this. So that's the mechanics of it. That's the stuff that your brain says, this is what I should be doing. But something else gets in the way, doesn't it? If it was that easy, you wouldn't be sitting on a webinar for it. You'd just all be doing it. So I'm imagining many people are now thinking, no, that's not it, Todd. So before me presenting what else it could be, let's just hear some other responses. So, what do other people think? If that is not it, and there is something else at play, what else is at play here? The first response that came in is, I think, the right response. So what else gets in the way? And someone wrote down, my brain. And that is the stuff that gets in the way. So let's follow this through. If you go to the next slide, please, Chloe. So you have time. Time's no longer the thing that's the problem that's getting in the way. We can stop saying, I don't have time, because you do. We've just proved that. So you also, I imagine, have the potential to do these things that you've written down. But will your results live up to it? And I think we're at this point where we're saying, I'm not sure that they will. So why might you not achieve your potential? What are the reasons? Let's go back to the chat box and consider, why might you not do this? As you read the comments, Claire, it'd be interesting to get your summary on these.
I think a lot of people are looking at, it comes back to their confidence and their lack of confidence in themselves. The fear of failure is coming up quite often. Multiple people are saying the same thing of fear and avoidance. There's some honest people saying laziness is part of it, but there's probably deeper things rooted into that as well. Just being avoidance and poor self-esteem. And there is somebody who has written that work is hard and it is easier to put it off forever, which is absolutely right. It's why I sit and make my lists, because lists are easy. The work that is on those lists is quite difficult. So it is absolutely something we all are guilty of, I think.
Yeah. Now, think about list making. When we're thinking about those boxes, the list making would be in box 3 or box 4. It's easy to do, it's not important, and it's not really that urgent. It's probably a box 4 activity. And what you're writing about is stuff that sits in box 2. It's the stuff that's important but not yet urgent, which is why you're writing a list and not doing it. The problem is it becomes urgent. When the health suffers, then that's when you're in hospital, because you're not been looking after yourself. And that's when it becomes box 1 and a real stressful issue. So work is hard, writing the list is easy, but it doesn't get you anywhere. So let's pick up this theme around fear. If you go to the next slide, please, Chloe. So here we are, connecting the few strands that we've got. So procrastination on the important stuff is a result of a fear of failure. Whenever we take a chance and enter unfamiliar territory or put ourselves into the world in a new way, we experience fear. And very often this fear keeps us from moving ahead with our lives. We might not know, or we might not associate the word fear with procrastination. But now if we're just connecting the big stuff we're talking about here, it's not the simple things, because we've deliberately talked about our top priorities. And we're going to have to shift something and change something. So we are putting ourselves into the world in a new way. And therefore, the way our brain works is still the same way that the brain works in primates. So it activates this fear thing to stop you from looking stupid or proving yourself to be a failure. So the thing that's causing you to procrastinate is not time. We've understood that that's the excuse. The thing that's stopping you from moving forward, the things that's causing you to procrastinate, is this fear of failure. So we go on to the next slide, please, Chloe. The thing about fear is in the mind, and it will stay in the mind until you step into it and do something about it. So fear does not go away by thinking about it. Fear is only ever removed by doing it. Which feels like a pretty big point. So I'm going to pause now. We've got maybe 5 more minutes of the official webinar, and then what we'll do, we'll host a longer Q&A for about 10 minutes. But if you've just got 5 minutes, feel free to stay with us for that. If you've got another 15, then feel free to stay with us for a little bit longer. In these last 5 minutes now, I'm interested in hearing your reflections on these past 40 minutes, the connection of the priorities and whose are they, how I identify how much time is needed for them, how you're wasting time, and actually time exists. And then this final thought around the thing that's stopping me moving forward is about fear rather than time. So I would love to read some reflections that you've got for yourself on this last half an hour. Yeah, I'll give you a moment just to type your thoughts, and then we'll read a few of them. So we've got some more thoughts. So what we'll do, I think, Chloe, is wrap up the formal thing, and then we'll dive into some of these detailed questions that we're getting in the last 10 minutes or so. Is that sensible, or would you like to do anything else now?
No, that's sensible. We'll just get some, we'll have a look. You can summarise up, and we will, if anyone's around to stay at the end, we'll cover some more of the more in-depth questions as we're going. Yeah.
Great. So we've got somewhat the kind of questions will come. So some here is about, you know, if the task list is so enormous, how do I choose what to do in amongst it? So we'll look at maybe 2 or 3 of those kind of questions in some detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just checking to see. So let's go to the final. One final slide.
Oh, not done it yet. So there seems to be a bit of a delay on our internet.
Okay.
Can you see it there?
No, I don't actually.
So we'll just restart the screen. There we go.
Got it.
Sorry, internet problems.
That's all right, we're here. It's worked well today. So in supporting your next steps, this has been a brief webinar about the topic that started off about time and time management, and then got into something, well, right at the start, you put it in there around mental health, and at the end now we're talking about fear and fear of failure. So clearly that's not something we cover in full in a 40 minutes. So there's more support for you. There are live events are being Leeds a few times over the next term, over the next few terms, and there'll be more webinars from me from Leadnow. There are, of course, a whole host of careers events, such as a mock assessment centre day in November, where you get to mimic live assessment centres and receive feedback from recruitment experts. So that kind of stuff is bookable through My Career Leads. I guess you guys all know the details of that. And if you've got any questions about booking any of those things or any careers related questions whatsoever, then Chloe is your point of contact, and her email is at the bottom of the screen now. That's me on a formal wrap, Chloe. Did you want to do anything now, and then we'll just stay online with a few people who want to stay to do some more detailed stuff?
Yes, hi Todd, thank you for that. That was really, really useful. It was useful for me, so I'm sure it was useful for our student attendees as well. We've all learned something that I think we can put into daily practice, and I think that's a little bit about what you were saying. It's not going to happen overnight, these things. We are needing to be more conscious of it and stepping towards that a little bit. As that last slide said, students, you are all more than welcome to get in touch with me if you have any questions about anything that's on My Career or any events that are happening. The assessment centre plays on that fear of failure. Again, assessment centres are terrifying and daunting and can seem really unusual if it's not something you've experienced before. So involving yourself in this day, which you get to mimic the live environment as if you were in a real assessment centre, but you get that genuine one-to-one constructive feedback at the end of it, should hopefully help you with your confidence and build that sort of next step that you might take. But yes, thank you so much for that, Todd, and we look forward to the rest of the series of webinars and live events that you're going to be covering with us over this next academic year. Students, please stay around if you've got any questions or you want to hear the answers to some of the questions that your peers have been asking, and we've got about 15 minutes to cover those. So back to you, Todd, to cover the questions.
Oh, right, good. Thank you, Chloe. What's the best way of doing this? Could you could you select maybe 3 from the list, and yeah, and we'll stick with those 3.
Should we start with this one? Where's the one that's again? So of the things that we should be doing, I'm not sure if this was covered, so if the student who asked this has been covered, absolutely let us know. What if you procrastinate the thing you should be doing? Do you just force yourself to do it? Is that how it starts? Or is there other ways that you can advise on this, Todd?
I would start by being clear on the why. So so getting really crystal clear on what the benefit is. So long term, and then bringing that closer and closer to short term. So for example, exercising, it's like, it's just hard to get motivated. But when I started thinking that unless I look after myself, I won't be able to be healthy to run around with my grandchildren. That then became a real motivator. It's like, no, I want to play sport with my grandson. Then that becomes really motivating. So I'd say you want to start with a motivation. If it's about, I don't know, so if it's about the dissertation, and getting started on the dissertation rather than going out and leaving it to the last minute, for example. So, okay, well, what's the impact? Well, maybe that's a difference between, mark X and marks Y and mark Y. Okay, what's the difference with that? Well, if I imagine, this might not be true, you'll tell a lot of people it won't be true. If that could be the difference between job A and job B, then okay, if I want job A, what difference would that make to my life? So it's about trying to get really clear on the why to start off with, because if it's not there, then it doesn't happen. So yeah, so step 1 is get close to the why. Step 2 is break it into baby steps. So it can feel like a really big distance to go from where you are now, let's say on having a great relationship with my dad. It might be currently a 3 out of 10, and I'd really like it to be a 10 out of 10. But the journey there seems so big and difficult, and it feels like we're really stuck in a 3. So the next step is, rather than plan all the way 3 to 10, is just say to myself, well, how next month can it be a 3.5? So start small and baby steps. That's I think would be my advice, Chloe. What would you add?
I think that is sound advice. That it isn't going to be something we fix immediately, but understanding that why is probably your best bet. So taking some personal reflection time to have a think around what that might be would be great. So we have another question which kind of leads on from this, and it says, if I spend time on work, I feel like I'm neglecting the people close to me, and if I spend time with them, I feel like I'm neglecting work. How do I know what to prioritise?
Tough one. There will never be enough time, will there, to do all the things that we feel like we should be doing. So I'm thinking now about where the judgment is coming from. So the judgment is coming from the self, so from within. So it feels like I am letting down other people, or I am letting down work. So I think perhaps here the work needs to be on who are you really letting down. It might not be either, and it's an own internal bar setting of kind of super excellence in both that's getting in the way. And maybe it's about understanding what good looks like rather than perfection in both of those things, and then shooting for good at both. Because I know, can I be perfect dad to these two kids, which means pick them up every day, you know, and then run a webinar at 5:30 tonight? Well, that's not, it can't happen. So I've got to be accepting that for a whole life to be perfect, then everything within it has to be good and good enough. So it means that yeah, I eat breakfast and dinner with my kids, even if I can't be picking them up from school. Yeah, so I think, Chloe, it's around being clear about what good is and letting go of what perfection is, knowing that it's probably an internal judgment rather than anybody else that you're letting down.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and I think that leads nicely onto another comment that we've had, which states that I think my fear of failure is related to how other people have everything under control, in inverted commas. Sometimes it appears as if everybody else is super productive and it's just me who struggles. And to that student, I think if you could see our whole chat like we can, I think you'd be very reassured that you are not alone in this. Everybody is having the very similar thoughts, and it isn't only one person. And the people who maybe seem to have everything together, I'm sure don't have everything together. But I just wonder what your thoughts on that are, Todd.
Yeah. I'm just taking something off my wall. I'm writing a book at the moment, and one of the it's an illustrated journal, and one of the illustrations, I don't know if you guys can see, is this one here. Can you see that well?
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah. So what you've got there is this girl saying to the world, I'm fine, because that's what we do. When we ask somebody how they are, they say, I'm fine, or I'm all right, or yeah, cool. Because that's what people say, you know. But there is this myth, it's called the myth of okayness. Every single person I've met that when you say, they say, I'm fine. And then because I've built some trust with them, I'll say, no, come on, really, how are you? That's when they go, well, let me tell you how I'm not actually fine. And this is everyone. This is, you know, business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, lecturers, head teachers, hundreds and hundreds of people that I've worked with and coached. Yeah, there is a myth that everyone is okay, and it's a real reassurance when you realise that you're not the odd one out, and that everyone else has got some not okayness too.
Okay, thank you. We are going to launch one final poll for people who are still here. It is just for a little bit of feedback for us as supporters of this event and for Todd. It's not something we're going to be sharing back, but that will be coming up in a couple of minutes. I'd like to take this opportunity again to say thank you to you, Todd. We've had some brilliant discussions, so thank you to all the students involved for being so engaged in this. It's been fantastic to feel how you feel with all these different aspects, which are so important that we understand better in ourselves what we prioritize and how we box those out and how we can be more aware of that. But I think we've all learned a lot, so I'd like to say thank you, and we're gonna launch this poll, and then after that you are all free to go. If anyone's got any questions about anything else, please send it to my email address and we will try and get those questions answered. So if there's been anything in the chat that was particularly a burning question that you wanted an answer to and we've not been able to get an answer to you, please do forward it to my email address, which you had on the slide, and has emailed you a couple of times already this week, and we'll make sure you get an answer to those questions. We don't want you feeling like you don't have anything. And as well, we have been recording this webinar, so we will send the recording out to you if anyone wants to watch it back. If there's any things that you thought you might want to look at if you didn't get any notes down or would like to share with some of your friends and family, we are absolutely fine with that. We'll be sending that out to you later this week. But Right, that's it from us. We will launch our poll and say goodbye from there, I think. It has now been launched. So we'll just leave it another 20 seconds for people to vote. Do it out of percentages. Okay. Right. Last couple of seconds and we'll close our vote. Right, thank you. We'll close that now. Todd, is there anything else you'd like to say on the last note?
No, that's all. Thanks very much. That was really enjoyable. I really liked the interaction from everyone. I love the questions. I love the comments. So yeah, it's very cool. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you again later in the year, Todd. Thank you.
Cheers then. Bye-bye.
Bye.